On August 18, 1977, just 2 days after Elvis's passing, Priscilla Presley received a sealed envelope marked urgent from his longtime manager. She thought it was paperwork. It wasn't. Inside was something he'd hidden for years. Something that, once she read it, rewrote everything she believed about him. It was August 18, 1977, 9:14 a.m., and the heavy Memphis heat clung to the house like a blanket nobody asked for. Outside the gates, fans gathered in growing numbers. Hundreds at first, then thousands, pressing flowers against the iron bars, holding candles, old ticket stubs, even faded scarves from long-past concerts. Their soft crying drifted up the hill like a thin fog. Inside, Priscilla moved slowly through Elvis's old office, a room that still carried his scent. Cologne, leather, the faint burn of old stage makeup. The air felt heavy, almost thick. It was the kind of room where memories didn't sit quietly. They leaned on you. His sunglasses rested on the desk beside a half-used notepad. A pen lay where he dropped it days earlier. Tiny details that felt alive just hours ago now felt frozen in time. And sitting in the center of the desk was a sealed envelope. Large, heavy, marked in red. Urgent. From the desk of Colonel Tom Parker, Priscilla stared at it without touching it. It didn't fit the moment. Not today. Not like this. Colonel Parker didn't send envelopes. He sent instructions, demands, schedules. But urgent carried a different weight this time. She sat down slowly. The leather chair creaked under her, a familiar sound that sent a small ache through her chest. She inhaled deeply, steadying herself, and reached for the envelope. The paper felt unusually thick, almost stiff, like something inside pressed against it. Why would Colonel send this now? Why didn't he hand this over yesterday? Her thoughts spun, but her hands kept moving. The flap peeled open with a soft tear. The sound echoed louder than it should have, bouncing off the wooden bookshelves. Something inside the envelope shifted. The weight was wrong. It wasn't just paper. It felt heavier, almost like a burden sealed inside. A soft knock sounded from the hallway. Priscilla looked up. A house staff member peeked in gently. "Ma'am, the crowd outside is growing." She nodded, her voice caught in her throat. "Just give me a minute," she whispered. The door closed again, leaving her alone with the envelope. She slid its contents out. Not legal documents, not financial reports, not funeral arrangements. Instead, a smaller envelope, yellowed along the edges, with Elvis's handwriting on the front. Her breath caught. The handwriting was unmistakable, slanted, looping, confident. She traced her finger over the letters of her own name. For Priscilla, open only when he's gone. A chill ran through her body. She blinked hard, unsure whether she wanted to know what came next. The smaller envelope felt warm in her hand, like it had been held many times before it was finally sealed. Attached to it was a photograph, faded, edges soft from age. On the back, scribbled in blue ink, March 4, 1962, Fort Hood, 1,500 in attendance. The front showed Elvis with a young soldier Priscilla didn't recognize. Both smiling, both holding a guitar she had never seen in Graceland. Her pulse quickened. Why had he kept this? Why had Colonel delivered it now? Another question rose like a whisper. What truth had Elvis locked away until after he was gone? The room seemed to shrink around her. Dust floated in the sunlight, drifting like tiny ghosts. Outside, a wave of sobs from fans rose and fell, almost like distant ocean surf. Priscilla held the smaller envelope up to the light. Its weight felt emotional. Its meaning felt dangerous. Its timing felt intentional. Her fingers trembled as she slid a nail beneath the flap. The paper cracked softly. Then she unfolded the first page inside and gasped. The first page in Priscilla's hands didn't look like a formal document at all. The paper was thin, slightly wrinkled, and smelled faintly of old cedar, the way Elvis's drawers used to smell when he hid things he didn't want the world to see. Across the top, written in Elvis's familiar slanted handwriting, was a single line. "If you're reading this, the music has stopped." Priscilla's breath shook. The room seemed to tilt gently, like the memory of him had weight. The distant sound of fans outside Graceland drifted through the window. Soft crying, prayers, murmurs. Their voices felt like a low hum under her heartbeat. She turned the page, expecting a letter. But what fell out wasn't a letter at all. A photograph slipped onto her lap. Old, sun-faded, edges worn like it had been held 1,000 times. The image stole her breath. Elvis stood on a makeshift stage surrounded by soldiers, blocky metal lights overhead, a crowd of 1,500 men packed shoulder to shoulder. Their uniforms were dusty, their faces young, and beside Elvis was a soldier she didn't recognize. The soldier held a strange guitar, dark wood, silver trim, nothing like any guitar Priscilla remembered seeing in Graceland. Elvis's scarf was tied around the soldier's wrist. On the back of the photograph, in blue pen, March 4, 1962, Fort Hood, for when the music stops. A sharp tingle ran up Priscilla's arms. Why would he mark it like that? What was he trying to preserve? Pattern breaker. A shock sentence slipped through her mind. This wasn't about music anymore. Attached to the photo was a second envelope. Smaller, softer, worn at the corners. Across the front, Colonel Parker had written in his harsh block letters. He wanted you to have this when the world changed. Priscilla whispered the words out loud, her voice barely above a breath. When the world changed, she looked around Elvis's office. At the empty chair he used to sit in, the gold records on the walls, the quiet hum of the air conditioner. Yes, the world had changed. Her hands trembled as she opened the smaller envelope. Inside was another folded paper, thinner, shakier in texture. As she opened it, a faint scent of old stage smoke drifted out, as if the memory of the moment itself was trapped between the fibers. The handwriting inside was Elvis's again, but different, less confident, more vulnerable. The slanted letters dipped and rose unevenly, like his hand had been shaking. The first paragraph read, "Scylla, there's something I never told anyone. Not the colonel. Not the boys. Not even you. I didn't know how. But I've carried it since Fort Hood." Her pulse quickened. Elvis never admitted fear on paper. Not once. Not in any diary. Not even in the soft confessions they shared during sleepless nights. She read on. "A young soldier stepped in front of me when a stage bar dropped during the show. The crowd cheered, but he saved my life. His name was Samuel Dwyer." Priscilla paused. The room felt suddenly smaller. The fans outside Graceland murmured louder now, the sound rising like distant waves. Inside, everything went still. She whispered, "A soldier saved him?" It didn't sound real. Elvis was always the protector of his band, his family, his audience. The idea of someone shielding him felt backwards. She read the next line. "I promised Samuel I'd repay him someday. I gave him my scarf that night. Told him we'd meet again." Priscilla flipped the photo back over. The young soldier beside Elvis was indeed wearing the scarf, the same scarf Graceland kept in a plexiglass case, labeled only, "Early 60s gifted scarf, unknown origin." Unknown. Until now. Her heart pounded. Why didn't he ever tell me this? What was he protecting? She kept reading, each line pulling her deeper into the past. But halfway down the page, the handwriting changed again. Smaller, tighter, almost desperate. "I never kept my promise, Scylla. And it's haunted me more than any song I never finished." Cold breath left her. Promises. Regret. A secret tied to a soldier whose name she had never heard. She looked at the second page. Felt heavier, more dangerous. She unfolded it carefully, and what she saw next made her grip the desk for support. Priscilla steadied herself against the desk as she unfolded the second page. This one looked older. Yellowed around the edges, the ink lighter, like Elvis had written it quickly, maybe late at night, maybe during one of those restless stretches when music wouldn't let him sleep. The first line hit harder than she expected. "You'll never hear about this in any book. I made sure of that." She felt a chill run down her arms. Elvis didn't hide stories for fun. If he buried something, it was because the truth cut too deep. The house creaked behind her. A slow groan of settling wood, as if Graceland itself was bracing for what she would discover. She lowered her eyes back to the page. Fort Hood was a simple show. Just me, a guitar, and 1,500 soldiers who needed a break from routine. Fluorescent lights, folding chairs. Nothing fancy. Priscilla pictured it. A dusty army stage. Soldiers crammed shoulder to shoulder. Their boots scuffing against concrete floors. Cigarette smoke drifting through harsh white lights. Elvis with a cheap mic, cracking jokes, lifting tired spirits. But the next lines changed everything. A metal rigging bar snapped. I heard at first a shriek in the ceiling. Then a shadow. Before I could move, Samuel shoved me aside. Priscilla felt her stomach twist. The photograph made sense now. That wasn't just any soldier beside Elvis. That was the man who had stepped in when fate tilted the wrong way. She kept reading. Crowd never saw it. They thought I stumbled. Samuel acted like nothing happened. He even made a joke. She paused, imagining this young soldier laughing off the risk, pretending the brush with danger was nothing. Elvis must have been shaken. She could hear his voice from decades of memory. Soft, grateful, stunned. Her eyes drifted to the Fort Hood date again, March 4th, 1962. She whispered it under her breath, tasting the weight of it. Why didn't he ever talk about this? The next paragraph offered a painful answer. I told the colonel what happened. He said heroes distract the fans. He told me to forget it. So I did. But it followed me. Priscilla clenched the letter tighter. Colonel Parker had hated sharing attention. A soldier saving Elvis would have become a story bigger than any song that night. Of course the colonel buried it. Of course he told Elvis to keep quiet. The fans outside Graceland murmured louder now, almost like they were listening through the walls. Their whispers felt like a soft crowd hum under her breath. She closed her eyes for a moment, imagining all the times Elvis had stood alone, carrying guilt she never knew about. She kept reading. I promised Samuel I'd send him something real, something that showed I didn't forget. But life got loud, fame got heavy, and my promise got lost. Pattern breaker. Simple. Sharp. It hit her like a slap. He broke a promise he wanted to keep. Priscilla pressed a hand against her chest. She remembered the way Elvis sometimes paused before shows. Eyes distant. He always blamed nerves, exhaustion, stomach aches. But was this soldier part of that weight? Another line pulled her deeper. Samuel went to Vietnam. I wanted to reach out, but I didn't know how. And then I heard he was injured. Badly. A small newspaper clipping slid from between the pages. A grainy photo of soldiers in Hugh City, dated April 9, 1968. The article briefly mentioned casualties and those severely wounded, including Private Samuel Dwyer. Priscilla felt the room tilt again. This wasn't just regret. This was grief he never shared. The letter continued. I bought him a gift. Something only he and I would understand. A guitar. Custom-made. With our initials. It's somewhere in this house. Her pulse raced. A hidden guitar? All these years. She scanned the next lines quickly. I kept thinking I'd have time. That someday I'd put this right. But someday never came. The weight of the sentence sat heavy in her throat. How many people carried regrets like this? Quiet promises, left unfinished. Would she want someone to finish hers if she were gone? She turned to the final part of the page. The handwriting shifted again. Tighter, almost trembling. I don't know where the guitar ended up, but if you ever find it, give it meaning. Don't let my silence be the last chapter. Priscilla stared at the words. Her fingers trembled. Her heart pounded. Promise. A soldier. A hidden guitar. A confession sealed until death. And yet, the next page was even worse. She reached for it with shaking hands because the next paragraph revealed what Elvis planned, but never lived to fulfill. Priscilla reached for the next page, her breath shallow, her fingers trembling. The paper felt almost fragile, as if it had absorbed years of regret. Outside, someone among the fans cried Elvis's name, and the sound drifted into the room like a faint echo of a world still mourning. The handwriting on this page was tighter, pressed harder into the paper, as if Elvis had written it through clenched teeth. Scylla, this part will hurt to read. It hurt to write. She swallowed. Her throat felt dry. Elvis continued. Samuel left for Vietnam the year after Fort Hood. He wrote me once. Said I inspired him to stay strong. I wrote back. I never heard from him again. Priscilla imagined the young soldier. Smiling, steady, brave. Then she imagined him vanishing into a war that swallowed so many men whole. The next lines deepened the wound. April 9th, 1968. Hugh City. I saw the headline. Young Mississippi soldier severely wounded. It was him. A small clipping was taped to the page. Yellowed, grainy, torn from a newspaper. The ink showed a blurred photo of soldiers crouching behind rubble. At the bottom, Samuel Dwyer, 24, critically injured in combat. Priscilla touched the clipping gently, as if the man on the page could feel it. A question rose inside her. Why didn't he ever tell me this? Why carry the weight alone? Elvis answered it in the next paragraph. I tried to visit him. Colonel stopped me. Said it would cause a media circus. Said it wasn't our business anymore. Pattern breaker. I listened to him. I shouldn't have. The sentence hit hard. Priscilla felt anger stir in her chest. Not at Elvis, but at the years of control, the manipulation, the lost chances. She tightened her grip on the letter as Elvis's confession unfolded. I bought him something that meant more than any apology. A custom guitar, one of a kind, a sunburst beauty, with our initials carved at the base. Her heart jumped. A hidden guitar, a secret tribute, promise frozen in time. I planned to take it to him myself, but every time I got close, fear stopped me. Fear. Elvis Presley admitting fear. She could almost hear his voice, soft, strained, ashamed. The lines that followed were shorter, rushed. I was afraid he'd think I forgot him. Afraid he'd think the guitar was too little, too late. Afraid he'd see through me. Short bursts, pain condensed in ink. Her chest tightened. Every sentence felt like a wound. She kept reading. I hid the guitar so the colonel couldn't sell it or twist it into a stunt. I never told anyone where. Not even the guys. Not even you. Priscilla glanced around the office instinctively. At the shelves, the cabinets, the corners Elvis kept locked from the world. If you're holding this letter, it means I never found the courage to finish what I started. Her breath stuttered. Felt like he was speaking straight into her heart. But you were always the one who understood me without me having to say the words. Her eyes stung. She blinked hard. So I'm asking you to finish this for me. A cold ripple ran through her. Finish it? How? Where was the guitar? Where was Samuel? She flipped to the bottom of the page. And that's when she found the final 8 words he wrote in that unfinished confession. If you find it first, give it meaning. Her breath caught. That wasn't just a request. It was a passing of responsibility. A final intimate trust. Her eyes drifted toward the hallway, toward a place she had avoided for years. Elvis's old rehearsal room. The one behind the velvet curtain. The one no one entered without him. The one he always kept locked, even from the people he loved. A midhook formed naturally in her mind. What if the guitar had been waiting for her all along? And what if this unfinished promise was the one piece of Elvis's heart she never knew existed? The ache inside her deepened. She folded the letter gently, pressing it against her chest. The walls of Graceland felt alive with memory. Floorboards groaning, air shifting like breath. She stood slowly, the weight of Elvis's words urging her forward. And then she remembered the room Elvis never let her enter. She turned toward the hallway, because that was where the truth was hiding. Priscilla walked through the quiet hallways of Graceland with the letter pressed to her chest. Every step felt heavier, like she was carrying Elvis's unfinished story in her hands. The house groaned softly under her feet. Distant voices outside the gates. Fans praying, crying, murmuring. Floated through the windows like background music in a dream she hadn't woken from. She reached the basement stairs. The air grew cooler. The light dimmer. A faint hum vibrated through the walls, the same electric hum she remembered from Elvis's late-night rehearsals. It felt like the house was alive, guiding her toward something she had never been meant to see while he was here. At the bottom of the stairs stood the blue velvet curtain. Elvis's barrier. Elvis's sanctuary. Elvis's secret. Priscilla had seen him slip behind it so many nights, carrying a guitar, wiping sweat from his brow, breathing hard like he was outrunning something. He always emerged calmer, quieter, as if the room behind that curtain swallowed the noise of his world. But she had never been allowed in. Not once. A tremor of nerves ran through her. Should she even be doing this? Was she intruding on something sacred? But Elvis's words echoed through her again. If you find it first, give it meaning. She pushed the curtain aside. The room beyond was dark except for a square of dusty light slipping in from a small window near the ceiling. The air smelled like old leather, amplifiers, and memories thick enough to touch. Her footsteps made soft thuds on the wooden floor. Old amps lined the walls, unplugged but still powerful in their silence. A tape machine sat on a small table, the reel frozen mid-turn as if it had stopped the moment Elvis last walked out. Priscilla reached out and touched the machine. Crackled faintly. A hiss breathed through the speakers, soft, ghostly, like a trapped piece of a forgotten rehearsal. A shiver passed down her spine. She let her hand fall away and scanned the room. Guitar cases, stacked boxes, dust dancing in sunbeams. The entire space felt like a museum of unfinished moments. She stepped deeper in when something caught her eye. A half-collapsed cardboard box near the back wall. It had been shoved behind a tall amp, almost hidden. One corner of the box was torn open, revealing the corner of a black guitar case. Her breath hitched. She knelt down and pulled the box aside. The guitar case slid forward, covered in dust but intact. The latches were rusted, the handle worn smooth, and on the lower edge, barely visible. Her heart jumped. This was it. The guitar Elvis never delivered. The guitar tied to a promise frozen in time. Her fingers shook as she unlatched the case. Each metal click echoed across the room like a tiny explosion. She took a slow breath and lifted the lid. Inside lay the most beautiful instrument she had ever seen. A sunburst body with warm amber edges. Silver fret inlays shaped like small falling stars. A custom truss rod cover engraved with intertwined initials. And taped inside the lid, a folded note in Elvis's handwriting. For the man who caught me before the world did. Her throat tightened. She pressed her hand against her lips to hold back a sob. The guitar looked untouched. Not a scratch. Not a fingerprint. As if Elvis never found the courage to even test a single chord on it. A question tore through her chest. What do you do when someone hands you their unfinished heart? Do you leave it buried? Or do you carry it forward? She lifted the guitar gently. It felt lighter than she expected. Delicate, precious, almost vulnerable. The metal strings shimmered in the dusty sunlight, catching gold and amber glints. Her mind raced. Was Samuel still alive? Could she even find him? Was this too late or exactly on time? Just then, her phone rang upstairs. The sudden sound echoed through the basement like a warning shot. Priscilla flinched, clutching the guitar protectively. She rushed up the stairs, breath uneven, the instrument held carefully in her arms. At the top, the phone was still ringing. She answered quickly. "Hello." A quiet male voice on the other end hesitated. "Mrs. Presley. This is the Veterans Affairs office in Mississippi. You'd asked about a man named Samuel Dwyer." Priscilla froze. "Yes," she whispered. Is he alive?" The line crackled. Her heart hammered. The guitar trembled in her hands. "Mom, Samuel is alive. And he's been waiting for news he never thought would come." Priscilla held the phone tightly, her knuckles whitening around the receiver. The room around her felt blurry, like the world had stepped a few feet away to give her space. The voice on the line repeated gently, "Ma'am, Samuel is alive." For a moment, she couldn't speak. Alive. After all these years. After war, injury, silence, and a promise left unfinished. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Can I see him?" "Yes, ma'am," the voice said. "He lives outside Jackson. Small town, quiet place. He doesn't get many visitors. Priscilla glanced down at the guitar resting against her leg. The initials gleamed softly under the hallway light, EPSD. A reminder of the bond Elvis had tried to honor but never could. "I'll come tomorrow," she whispered. The next morning, she drove through Mississippi's rural roads, fields stretching endlessly in every direction. The air felt warmer here, the sky wide and gentle. She imagined Elvis riding shotgun, sunglasses on, humming a tune under his breath. It made her smile, then ache. She arrived at a small brick house with a sagging porch. Wind chimes clattered softly in the warm breeze. A faded American flag hung by the door. Before she could knock, the door opened. An older man stood there, gray hair, weathered face, a cane gripped in his right hand. "Mrs. Presley?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "Are you Samuel Dwyer?" He gave a slow, humble smile. "What's left of him?" They stepped inside. The living room was simple. Family photos on the wall, a Bible on the table, a rocking chair by the window. A soft country radio played in the background, low enough not to intrude. Priscilla carefully set the guitar case on the table. Samuel glanced at it, then froze. A tremble ran down his fingers. He lowered himself into the rocking chair, eyes wide, as if he were staring at a ghost. That can't be," he whispered. She opened the case slowly. The guitar glowed in the morning light, warm amber and soft gold. Samuel's lips parted. His breath caught. His hand lifted but hovered, afraid to touch it. "Elvis bought this for you," Priscilla said softly. "He meant to give it to you himself." Samuel's face crumpled. He covered his mouth with a trembling hand. A tear slipped down his cheek. "He never forgot me?" he whispered. "Not for a single day," she said. "He wrote about you. He kept your photograph. And he wanted this guitar to find its way to you." Samuel let out a shaky breath. I thought maybe he forgot. Or maybe I didn't matter." Priscilla shook her head. "You mattered enough that he hid this from the world. So no one could take credit. So no one could twist it. So it would stay yours." Samuel finally reached out and touched the guitar. His fingers curled gently around the neck. For a moment, the room felt brighter, the air warmer, as if a piece of Elvis had walked in and sat down beside them. "I heard he passed," Samuel murmured. "I prayed for him that night. I hoped he left this world knowing he'd changed lives. Mine included." Priscilla felt tears rise but blinked them back. "He never finished this promise. But you deserved to have it." Samuel chuckled softly through his tears. "He always kept his word. Even if it took 40 years and an angel like you." She didn't correct him. The moment was too sacred for modesty. As Samuel lifted the guitar and played a soft, trembling chord, the sound filled the small room, a warm, fragile echo of something bigger than both of them. A month later, Graceland placed a small plaque in a quiet hallway. The Fort Hood Promise, March 4th, 1962. No spotlight, no press release, just truth preserved in metal. But Elvis's letter still had one final message waiting for her. Priscilla sat alone in Elvis's office later that evening. The house quiet, the lights soft, the weight of the day still pressed gently against her heart. The letter lay open on the desk, its edges curled slightly from age, its ink carrying the last unspoken pieces of a man the world thought it fully knew. But she knew better now. Elvis wasn't just the legend people cried for outside the gates. He wasn't just the voice on the records or the figure on the stage. He was a man who carried regrets quietly, the way others carried scars. She traced her fingers across the final lines. A man's legacy isn't his fame. It's the promises he keeps. The sentence hit her deeper than anything she had read. It wasn't meant for headlines or history books. It was meant for her, a whisper from the past, asking her to understand the part of him he never let the world see. She leaned back in the chair and let the silence settle. Graceland felt different now. Not hollow, not haunted, but full. Full of truth. Full of stories hidden between floorboards and memories. Full of the humanity Elvis worked so hard to protect. Outside, fans still gathered with candles flickering like tiny stars. Some held photos. Others shared stories. All of them grieving a legend. None of them knowing the quiet promise he had left behind. Priscilla folded the letter gently, as if afraid to bruise the paper. She placed it back in its envelope, the same one Colonel Parker had delivered with shaking hands. For the first time, she understood why Elvis had trusted her to find it. Because she was the one who always saw the man beneath the fame. A soft question drifted through her mind. How many of us leave unfinished promises behind? And who will carry them when we can't? She stood slowly and looked toward the hallway where Elvis once walked, humming half-written melodies. The guitar was now with Samuel. The story was complete. The promise had meaning again. And so did the silence that followed. Priscilla whispered into the stillness. "You kept your word, Elvis. Just in your own way." Then she turned off the light, leaving the room filled with a peaceful quiet. A quiet that sounded almost like gratitude. If the story moved you, share it with someone who still believes promises matter. These quiet moments are the ones history forgets, but hearts remember. Tell us in the comments, what promise changed your life? And if you want more untold legends from music's hidden corners, watch the next story now.